Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today in this video I'm going to be doing like 11 game reviews in a very short amount of time. And the reason for this is a lot of times people say, if you don't like a game so much, why do you even bother reviewing it? And I agree, it's not always, I do it because of as a service to the people who are watching, but sometimes a game is bad and the rules are complicated and it just never really, I keep looking at it going, I don't want to play that more, or I don't want to go over the whole rules explanation. So I'm just putting these all together so I can kind of get these games and move them along their way. So here we got 11 games that I don't really think a lot of, but I'll quick give some short summary as to why on each one. So first we have Battalia the Creation. Now this game is grandiose, it's huge. It is a deck building game, but it's also trying to be kind of like Mage Knight. It's this adventure style game, but you're kind of constricted by the cards you draw. Really kind of straitjacketed. There's a lot of pieces in this game, and you're moving along on a board with beautiful miniatures and stuff, but the whole game just really, there's too many rules, there's too many exceptions, there's too much stuff going on, and it doesn't actually give any real sense of fun. Battalia, now not a fan of this one. This one I kind of hated almost, and that's Risky Adventure. This is from Queen Games, and I was really pumped about it because I like the idea of going on an adventure and using these symbols. You roll dice, and you're going to get different things, and you kind of roll dice and take what's ever available. And it's really, you just roll and see what happens. Super random, not nearly as fun as I thought it would be. Risky Adventure. This game here, Bardagi, the Claim for Gold. First of all, it has way too many teensy tiny little pieces. I mean, there's like 120 wooden pieces, 300 plastic markers and coins. You have these 4 different adventurers. You can hear them all rattling around in there. You have these 4 different adventurers who all do something different. A ton of rules in this game, and they move around, but in the long run, what they all do isn't really that interesting. It's like, hey, I'm a warrior, I'm going out and doing a little bit of fighting. I'm doing this. And it just came down to a really boring game for us. Not a fan of this one at all. Here's one where I feel like I might be the only one who dislikes it, it seems, according to the reviews, but not a lot of people have played it. And that's the Approaching Dawn, the Witching Hour. This is a deck building cooperative game. Deck building, you each have your own witch, and the artwork in this game is fine. You each have your own witch, and you're doing your own things, and you are casting spells, and these enemies are attacking you. But the spells you do, there's this kind of wonky mechanism where when you play spells that do negative things, it hits the person next to you. You're constantly helping and healing each other. But I just wasn't a big fan. It just felt, it's another one of these like tower defense things where the stuff comes in, but there's too many rules. You never feel like you're doing anything really that cool, right? Like you'll do a few things, but there's this always constant, the negative stuff seems stronger than the good stuff. There's a lot of things that have to do with familiars, and sometimes they hardly show up in the game at all, which is like, well, why am I even talking about them? I like that each person is asymmetrical in this game and everything, but I just felt like there was too much going on. It just wasn't really that fun for me. Here's a little game called Village of Familiar. You probably haven't heard of this one. It's a little Japanese game in which Chinese game. Maybe it is from, I don't know which country it's from. There's Chinese and Japanese on the back here. But it is a game in which you are building tree houses, which looks really cool, right? Hey, look, I get to build these tree houses. You do it by a speed drafting style game where you're drafting them, passing them to the next person, and building them. And it sounds a lot cooler than it is, but there's way too many symbols, and in the end result, just not a big fan of it. Oh, this one makes me sad. Fallen Angel. This has a great theme. There's this big island, and it's either going to fall down and crash, or you're going to keep it afloat with these engines, and there's all sorts of things. It's a dice allocation style game. Way too many rules, way too fiddly as you play it, and it never feels as exciting as the theme makes it out to be. The theme is great, the artwork is great, it looks good, but when it comes down to it, it just has no excitement to it, and I don't think the game itself is that solid either. Fallen Angel. Dungeon Hustle. This is a game that's like, run through a dungeon as fast as you can, and essentially in this game, you're moving around, picking up cards, trying to get the right things, and it's so boring. Has nothing to do with dungeons. It's just turning over cards, and you're flipping over cards trying to beat quests with them, but essentially just matching symbols to get things. It looks boring. The artwork for the characters is good, but the artwork for the cards is just a bunch of symbols. Looks boring. For a hustle game, I don't feel any hustle in the game at all. Just, wow, this one was bad from the get-go. Another one that saddens me, Valiant Universe, the deck building game. Now, I like I haven't read the comics of Valiant Universe, but going through this, looking at the artwork is great. The characters themselves look pretty cool. But here's the thing. This is a superhero game that doesn't feel very super heroic because you are essentially moving cards around in this grid. Move cards this way, manipulate cards this way. The cards themselves get attacked and attack each other. It's maybe a cool mechanism, not comic booky at all, and the game itself wasn't really a big fan of. Hope City. This is a cooperative game in the future where you have different citizens who can go bad. That's the one thing I like about this game. Like, you can become an engineer or a cyberpunk or the principal or the coach or the bully, right? And there's punks coming around in this city, and there's no real decisions to be made in this game. You are simply, these punks are attacking. Can I do something? No? Okay, your turn. Can you do something? Sure. We never felt any kind of like thrills or horror. It just was like, this game is going to end. It was blah. Hope City. Looks pretty, but it's not. Dicejar, Warbit, Dicejar versus Psycholon. This game, Jason was like super pumped when we got this game because it was a game in which has a 3D board. I was like, big deal. You know, these 3D boards. But this game has some little pieces ships, and you're flying around shooting at each other. And it sounds really neat. There's all these rules. Here's how you move and everything. And it just comes down to rolling dice and shooting at other ships. I mean, you say, Vasel, you talk about modding games. Yeah, but this game had a lot of interesting ideas, and it just came down to who rolls better. And once your ship got powerful enough, you didn't even worry about your opponents. Meh. It's really an abstract game with dice. And then finally, Butterko, which is a speed game in which you place cards down, and if you see 3 in a row, you grab them. There are so many of these games out here. And in fact, Freod, who made this, I mean, almost all their games are speed anyway, and so I just tacked this one on the end to give me 11 games for this list. Now, I know that some of you probably liked a lot of these games, and I apologize about that. You say, oh, you know, you give them more chances. No, unfortunately, in our current gaming culture, we have too many games that are coming through, too many games that we're looking at. But I wanted to give you a little bit of reason why you haven't seen reviews of these. That's just some quick overviews of 11 bad games, in my opinion, obviously. Until next time, I'm Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.